You better post the link in Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Give some people time to tune in.
How was your day?
My day was good.
What made it good?
The minimum amount of work, which equaled minimum stress, contributed to me having a good day.
What do you think contributes to the minimum, the ability to only do the minimum at work?
Time management and work management, meaning being able to determine.
Okay, Shay.
Being able to determine what's time sensitive versus what can be put off for a later time. And then also determining what would be the best time to get certain things done, not necessarily waiting until the last minute, but just determining, okay, this, and this can get done today, and this, and that can be put off till tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And that, so it allows me to not overwhelm myself.
Couldn't agree more. Hey, Shay. Hey, Mr. Moses. How are you all doing today? Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
I posted a link to the YouTube. You can come on over to the YouTube. If you're joining us on Facebook, we would ask that you all come on over and like, share, and follow our YouTube page as well.
Please come to the YouTube. All right. Hello. Welcome back to another edition of our Talk It Out sessions presented by V.E.R.B. We are your hosts, Aaron Tate, Adrian Poe, saying hello to our future selves. If you've caught our other videos, then you know what we like to do is we take a specific topic, particularly one that is controversial, and we like to discuss it. We come up with different talking points to bring up throughout the discussion, but we also like to get involved with you guys as well. So for those of you tuning in, please feel free to comment and ask any questions you think might contribute to the conversation. And with that being said, today's topic is going to be part 3 to the conversation rules of nation. This will probably be the last part in this series that we started 2 weeks ago. And for this particular video, we want to focus a little bit more on the language barrier between men and women and why communication between the two genders seems to be so tough, in ways that we can further improve the communication between both men and women, ways to eliminate or to knock down the language barrier that seems to be between us. So we'll give a few more people time to tune in. How was your day?
It was good. It was really good. I finished up a project at work. It was the last day of that. I'm really grateful for it. I enjoyed myself, but I was ready to get it over with.
Again, if you're tuning in on YouTube, please come to the YouTube page. Adrian has posted the link to our YouTube channel. So please click the link, come to the YouTube, say hi in the chat so we can interact with you guys. And also, when you come here, make sure you drop a like on the video. What task or project were you able to get done? Shay said, hello, fellas. Hey, Shay.
What up, Shay? Just the overall project. Like, I feel like people at work think that just because, like, I be walking around a lot, that I'm not actually doing nothing. But, like you were saying, I don't think they factor in that either he's not doing something or he's very good at what he do. And not to brag, but it's really the latter. Like, I'm really good at balancing out all the stuff that I be doing at work. So when I'm talking to people and they asking me stuff or I'm showing them, I can tell they be like, you do all that? Because like they see me doing a lot of walking around, but I have to tell them like I'm just not playing.
Yeah, I
like
do this.
like I must be done.
Yeah.
Like I must be done. So I do find a little joy in that. I actually had to do that 2 or 3 times a day, and I'm like, clearly I know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't mistake my play for foolishness.
Right. All right, you ready to get started?
Let's get it.
All right, so to get started with today's video, it'll probably be broken up into two different parts. The first part, we're going to play our little game that we started 2 weeks ago called Cap On, Cap Off. For those of you that don't know how this game is played.
Cap on equals lie.
Yeah, cap on is a lie, cap off is true. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to state several statements, or I'm going to read several statements. And it's going to be up to us to determine whether we believe the statements to be true or false. Now, if we believe that the statement is true, then we say cap off. If we believe the statement to be false, we say cap on. So, for instance, when you feel like somebody's lying, you say stop capping, bro. Just take the cap off, right? Or if you're saying something to someone that you want them to, and you want to emphasize that you're speaking the truth, you say no cap, right? So again, I'm going to say a statement, and it's going to be up to you to determine whether you believe it's true or false. If you think it's false, you say cap on. If you think the statement is true, you say cap off. All right. So every time I say a statement, I want you guys to make sure that you're putting what you think in the comments, please. Are you ready to get started? Mm-hmm. All right. So first statement, cap on, cap off. Most men do not know how to communicate with women. Cap on, cap on, cap off.
Cap off.
And why do you say that?
I say cap off, which means I believe that is the truth, because a vast majority of men, especially those that I've spoken to, outside of me and you or a few of our other friends who we've actually taken time to develop such skills with, do not currently either have the ability to or have had that ability lay dormant so long due to not having to use it or choosing to not use it, then I must conclude that they currently don't do it well. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's not that I think that they can't. I do believe that either they've decided that it's best not to, due to the mental and emotional weight that comes behind actually communicating, especially with your partner, by whom which may be a female, and risking the rah-rah or the yelling or all the other negative that may come with it. So a lot of times, even myself, before developing the skills, for me, it was better to just be like, bet, like I'm not finna deal with that.
And what are those skills that you speak of?
That I've developed?
Mm-hmm. That helps you communicate.
Like the whole list or like a couple?
You usually name a couple.
Okay, so one is self-awareness, mm-hmm. Self-control, self-discipline, and I had to use that discipline to learn new words so that when I am communicating, I can switch up words that may be triggers. So if I know that a particular word is a trigger for my wife, then I need to use a synonym or an anonym, but I need to know what those are first. And a lot of skills such as synonyms and antonyms and homophones and all of those things that we learned in middle school, mm-hmm. we don't use them, or they're not applicable in everyday conversation. However, you don't realize that you should be, or you needed to have developed those everyday conversations in order to avoid a lot of the arguments that take place. How many people can transparently admit that they've been committed to doing that after school, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't think a lot of guys either do a good job at it or they've just decided to not to. And if that ability lays dormant too long, then it's just as good as not having it.
Yeah. For me, it's cap off as well. I think in addition to what you were saying, I think where men miss the mark when it comes to communicating with women is being able to connect with women on an emotional level. I think to some men's detriment, they can be too logical for um, for the sake of being logical or for the sake of not being seen as out of control as a woman is perceived when she's being emotional, right? However, I think it can benefit men greatly to not only connect with the women emotionally, but connect with themselves on an emotional level. And I think that's where it starts. It starts with allowing yourself to connect to your own emotions. But the world tells you as a man, you're not supposed to be emotional, right? But we assume that being emotional means a lack of control. It doesn't necessarily mean a lack of control. It just means that you're in tune with your emotions, or you're aware of your emotions when those certain emotions are being triggered at the time, or when you are put in certain situations, right? It's okay to be aware of your emotions, and being aware of your emotions makes it easier to be able to connect with someone else who may be experiencing those same emotions at any given time, which can then improve the communication level, because it then improves your understanding for one's emotional outburst or one's emotional experience that they're going through at any given time, right? So I think, like I said, in addition to what you were saying, most men tend to miss the mark on the emotional aspect. Again, I'm not saying that stop or sacrifice your logic or your rationale for the sake of being emotional, but learn how the two can coexist, when it comes to having a conversation with your woman.
Yeah, I completely agree. There was a guy that posted on Facebook 2 days ago. He said, like, basically, I'm paraphrasing, oh my God, I'm 32, 30, whatever he was, and I just realized that men have emotions too, and now I'm getting comfortable with sharing them. So I commented on the post, and I said, hey, correction, men have always had emotions. So you may want to look at it like you're just now discovering how to become comfortable with expressing them, because it does us a disservice to believe into the delusion that men have not always had emotions. And I used this example a while back in another one of our videos. Emotions are emotions. There's no different set of emotions for women that there are for men. Sadness, happiness, anxiety, depression, grief, despair, all of the available emotions, they have always also been available for men too. There's not a different pot. So when you make statements like, oh, I'm just discovering we have them, it's like, don't do that to yourself, because you just deleted the past 31 years of stuff that you may need to deal with. But if you went through those 31 years believing that they were not available, then how can you deal with it? And some of the stuff you need to deal with may be actual triggers or trauma that you need to be able to identify with, so that when it comes up in the future or in the present, you're able to be self-aware to speak to it. But if you just believe that all of these emotions just now overshadowed you, you're going to believe that you're having some type of new experience. And most people who's having a new experience, they don't experience it well because it's new. So I feel like we need to stop perpetuating the idea that men and women have some type of different set of emotions, because emotions they're in one bag. Which one you choose and how you react to it is what makes the difference between the women, because it's been more socially acceptable for them to display it. It just hasn't been as socially acceptable for men to display it. But we've always had the same exact emotions.
I agree. Number 2, most women know how to communicate with men. Cap on, cap off. Cap on, cap off.
Stop the cap. So wait, before any woman get offended, the antithesis of this statement is true as well. Men don't know how to communicate with women either. So I would not have laughed as hard, but I still would have laughed if he would have asked it the other way. Yeah. But since I'm a man who does know how to communicate, it's funnier. So no, that's definitely kept off.
Why do you say that?
Because
No, it's cap on.
Cap on, yeah. Cap on. My bad. Cap on. Yeah, it's definitely not true. So we can collectively agree, on a systemic and a social level, that women tend to escalate situations a lot faster than men. Now there are men that definitely escalate situations, right? However, women has had the luxury of being able to do that and not be considered less than. Therefore, the probability of a man doing it is a little lower.
Mm-hmm.
So women have had the luxury to be able to not communicate well and get away with it, right? Oh, you know I was tripping. I was just mad, but you were talking about my dead grandma though. I'm sorry, boy. Stop playing. Come get this. You know what I'm saying? Like they can get away with it,
Yeah.
and they have been getting away with it. So as they currently stand collectively, it's a no. However, I've met a few women, or I saw a few women on TikTok that is very communicative. Like they speak very well, they articulate. She's very temperament and calm, but those are really rare. I've saw more men, podcast men, right? I saw more men communicate more effectively than most women.
Mm-hmm.
So we both have work to do, but if we do a ratio or a poll or some type of questioning on a collective basis, yeah, I definitely think the numbers would be more in the man's favor than the current woman. But we both have work to do.
Yeah. It's cap on for me too. The same way that I think men can benefit from connecting with women on an emotional level, I do think that women have to meet men where they are as well, or in the middle when it comes to being rational and logical with any issues or concern that you may be having. You know, this goes back to a video that I posted on my TikTok page about how men make the distinction between women that are just being emotional versus women that are actually effectively communicating, right? A lot of women tend to, when they're bringing concerns to their man, they tend to start off statements with "I feel like" and then end with something accusatory, right? So, for example, I feel like you don't listen to me. I feel like you don't take my feelings into consideration. But women don't realize the power that they're giving to their emotions, which ends up being a detriment in the long run because it's clouding your ability to logically place things in order to then give them to the man to where he can then follow a sequential set of events that led to this current emotional state or emotional outburst that you're experiencing, right? So I think women, I think that's what prevents women from being able to properly communicate their feelings, because a lot of women think that they're actually communicating. They always say, well, I said this I told my boyfriend this, or I told my husband this, or I communicated to him how I was feeling. But no, you didn't communicate to him in a way that he could understand it. You communicated in a way that you understand it in your head. You communicated in a way that your friends might have understood you because you all think the same. But did you actually meet your man where he was and adapt to his communication style, which requires that you break things down step by step on how you arrived here with how you feel about what it is that I'm doing. So no, I don't think women know how to communicate with men, because women currently have not displayed the level of emotional control that is needed to then also logically put together how it is that they arrived at why it is that they feel the way that they feel.
Now, I also want to be defense lawyer for women for just a brief moment. I can definitely see the hesitation in why they don't, because if they actually do try, because we both have to meet each other in the middle, right? The man could very well respond in a way that's not conducive to promote them to want to continue to talk. And I'll use myself as an example. I'm very sarcastic. Very, very sarcastic. So in a conversation, when I'm talking to my wife sometimes, she'll be, expressing a concern. To me, it's not that deep because I know 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So she started at 3. I see 1 and 2, and I'm laughing because once we both get to 4, I know none of this will be a problem. So when I'm laughing, she's now mad. She's like, "There you go." In my mind, I'm like, what's the problem? I have to realize that just because I've already arrived at 4, I have to do a better job at helping her get to 4 so we can laugh together. And this is a recent experience, right? So I had to think about, okay, just because I know that number 4 makes everything okay, she's still on 3, and that's okay. So if she's willing to go from 1 to 3, and I'm at 4, and I meet her at 3, and we both walk to 4, the conversation would be fine. But she admitted to me that when I do that sarcastic thing, it doesn't encourage her to want to come talk to me about something else. So we have a part to play, like you said, in making sure we meet them halfway so that we're creating an environment that they want to talk to us, but they also need to do the same thing so that when they are talking to us, we're willing to receive the style that they're bringing to us. Mm-hmm. It's a thin line. It's a very thin line.
Yeah. Next one. Women prefer saying what's on their mind versus assuming men can read their mind. Cap on, cap off. Women prefer saying what's on their mind versus assuming men can read their mind. Cap on, cap off.
Oh, no. That is definitely cap on. That's a lie. That's a lie. And to prove that y'all think we can read minds, I want every woman in the world to pause for a minute, and I want you to close your eyes. And I want any woman who has never used these statements to put a comment in the chat. You should have known. You ought to know. Why you didn't know. I thought you knew. You should have. I expected you to. I assumed you would. Is that enough?
Keep going.
Okay.
I mean, if you got more,
okay.
Please.
Let me say another one. I thought you did. I wish you would have. Why you didn't? Let's see the clip. Is the clip empty?
You sure you ain't got one more bullet in the tank?
Let me see. I feel like I got one more.
Shay said, all right, enough.
I got one more. I know it's one more in there. I'm going to leave y'all alone. But listen, if any woman has never made any of those statements, then you can declare that you don't think men should read your mind. However, if you fall under the umbrella of any of the statements that I just named, then you, my sister, are under the impression that men can read thoughts. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Why do you think women tend to expect their men to read their mind?
I'm glad you asked. Women, correct me if I'm wrong. Women have convinced themselves based on tradition, Hallmark movies, Lifetime movies, that if a man pull out the blue what you wanted, that automatically shows that he cares. So to them, our ability to adhere to what's in here automatically is the highest form of love to them. Mm-hmm. They fully believe, women fully believe that if my man comes home and he sees that I'm tired and in my mind I want a foot rub and he just grabs my feet and rubs them, that man... He
should be able to predict the end of the world.
Because he predicted that, she now assigns that predictability to every other aspect of life. And the moment he missed one, because he human, because he didn't read your mind in the first place, he is then deemed as, you should have. I thought you know. Y'all know the list. Tell me if I'm wrong.
You're right, bro. I can't argue with you at all.
And the thing that they don't get is, the reason we were able to predict the foot rub is because, A, you called me on your lunch break and told me your feet hurt. These are facts. You called me on your lunch break and told me, baby, I'm tired, my feet hurt. You called me on your last break and told me the same thing. When you got off, you were walking with a limp. So now I have 3 identifiers to conclude, well, maybe my wife wants a foot rub, right? She missed all that though. But in their mind, oh girl, I just got off. I ain't even have to tell them. You told me. You did. You definitely told me. But she convinced herself that I didn't verbally have to say, hey, rub my feet. My man is the best. But then when they take that logic and apply it to other areas, they're now disappointed based on something that was never communicated. Mm-hmm. You built a delusion of how your man should operate moving forward in every possible scenario based on the limp you had when you walked in the house one day from work.
Like you were on the crutches, man.
I had to move the wheelchair to get you out the car. I built the ramp for the chair.
The doctor said rest for 2 weeks.
So I could put those together.
Shay said I'm guilty of this. Jasmine said ditto to what Shay said.
Shoot. Y'all, come on, man.
come on now.
I was reading the doctor's excuse. It says rub feet for 10 minutes. Gotcha, doc. Okay, I got instructions. Let's get it done.
Oh, man. Your wife said, LOL, I agree. Hey, Swanee.
Shit, what up, boo? I agree. Just talk to us, man. Let us know what's going on.
All right. Let's go on to the next one. I do have something to say about that, but I think I'm going to save it for the video that I'm going to post on TikTok.
Okay.
My Myths About Men series. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Number 4, women and men need each other to better learn how to communicate with one another. Cap on, cap off.
Definitely cap off. That's true. That is definitely true. And the reason that I say it's true is because any person that's trying to have a developing, productive, committed relationship with the opposite sex, the only way to build that is with them. Like, I can't learn to talk to my wife by talking to you. Because me and you, we both have the same type of logical thinking. So if the challenge is logic to emotions, I don't gain muscle by talking to logic. Yeah, I only gain muscle. I got to talk to the opposition, right? Yeah. It's like isometric exercise. Like, I have to push against something that's pushing back towards me. Mm-hmm. You don't get faster by just running that way. Like, it has to be a force to build that type of muscle. So me and you can do this all day. We do this all day. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't help when I go home because I'm expecting your responses, right? Mm-hmm. I have to remove your responses to fully receive what my wife is saying. And now I can now figure out, okay, how do I get past this? I don't have a wall with you, nor does my wife have a wall with her friends. Only when you run into that wall do you realize, wait, I gotta climb this? Mm-hmm. Okay, now how do I get up there now? Yeah. So, yeah, we definitely need each other.
Yeah, I agree. Cap off as well for me. I think even outside of the context of a romantic relationship, I think men and women benefit from friendships with one another. I think the more time men spend around women, the easier it is for them to be able to identify with how they operate on a daily basis, right? Identify key triggers for them, identify any mood changes in their behavior. Same thing goes for women. Women can get a more keen sense of how men operate on a daily basis if they spend more time around men, right? And then it wouldn't create such a huge language barrier between us, because now we can each understand how the other operates, we can understand how to adapt to each other's communication style, and that'll make for better harmony amongst us, right?
I could not have said that better myself.
Yeah.
I never even saw it like that. I always knew for just myself, because I have, these trials and stuff in my head, I knew it was beneficial for me to communicate. And I also can see how beneficial it has been for me talking to my wife, right? By talking to my female friends. But now when you were painting it, like I literally saw a image of like something that happened today. I was helping a homegirl from work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was explaining to her how to perform a job. And the first thing she said was, hey, like, don't talk to me like I'm slow. I haven't even started talking yet, though. Like, I haven't even started. And I said, hey, like, I'm not on that. Like, I'm genuinely trying to help you.
Mm-hmm.
I said, if I was being sarcastic, then I'm probably talking to you like you're slow.
Yeah.
I said, but, like, don't think that me helping you is an automatic, oh, she's slow in my head. Like, that's not how I think about people.
Mm-hmm.
So once I cleared that up, she was willing to receive the help, which showed that there's automatically, for the most part, a barrier between a woman and a man, like outside of a sexual connotation. Like even in a friendship, some women have a presupposed position about the particular man that's helping, especially if you're one who is articulate, who can display emotional intelligence, who has such a dominant presence. They're automatically going to be guarded. Mm-hmm. So that's our job, to make sure we don't come with all that and then be able to explain, hey, like I'm not on that. Like I'm genuinely trying to help. Mm-hmm. And that, once again, I don't have to do that with you though. Yeah. Like I don't have to exercise that, hey, I'm trying to help. Like even in my sarcasm, it's still helpful. Yeah. But I have to be understanding that I'm not always talking to somebody like you. Mm-hmm. So we definitely need each other to utilize and eliminate the gap between conversation. And I would even go as far as to say, because I know a lot of men and a lot of women don't like their significant other to be friends with the opposite sex, which then begs to question that, do you trust them? Because you're actually missing out on a valuable opportunity to get the type of man or woman that you actually need for a productive future, because you would be foolish to believe that your communication alone is enough for that man or that woman to fully exercise all the possible situations that could possibly come up in the lifetime of your relationship. Mm-hmm. So you're really putting yourself at a detriment or a negative by limiting the amount of exposure you're giving to your significant other. Mm-hmm. That's like having your child in the house all their life. But then when you take them outside or they go to school, they're panicking, they're scared, they're inclusive, they don't know how to interact. Yeah. So it works the same. Mm-hmm. It's the same principle and the same logic. Now, if you don't trust them around other people, that's a whole nother topic. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking about communication, you should be glad that you have a partner, male or female, who's able to be trustworthy, loyal, and communicative with many different people, because that means no matter what situation come up in your life, you know that you can go to them. And my question would be, it sounds like I'm getting personal. My question would be, are you doing the work so that your partner can experience the same thing through you?
Mm-hmm. Tiana said, hey, hi fellas, I know I'm late to the live, but what's up? Hey Tiana.
Hey Tiana.
Byron Harper says, I'm always watching my back. I'm a manager. All employees are women. I don't have any of their numbers. He also said, I will not be me too asking, can you come to work today?
It will not be me too asking, can you come to... What do you mean, Byron?
I think he's talking about the Me Too movement.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not getting caught up in that.
So, Byron, do you think that you could benefit from utilizing those women to stimulate conversations with? But before you answer that, I would first ask, do you believe in the possibility of a man and woman being friends and just that? Because I think that's the first thing we need to ask. Because I found that people's logic or premise or ideology is solely built into their belief system. Mm-hmm. So I don't think any man or woman would genuinely admit to benefits from becoming friends with the opposite sex unless they don't believe that it's possible. Because if you believe that it's impossible, then your goal is always going to be sex.
Mm-hmm.
Your goal is to not develop any skills, understand your future partner situation, understand like all the things we just named. Those are not even existent to someone who don't even believe that a man and woman can be friends without sexual interactions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first question. Do you believe that a man and woman can be lifelong friends with no sexual interactions?
Well, Tiana and Nasia, since I know you guys personally, can you guys speak to how beneficial it has been to have male friends?
Also, Shay, my wife.
Shay, Jasmine.
Jazz.
Women, how do you guys feel about having male friends, and how much has that benefited you guys?
And for the record, we ain't smash none of y'all. Well, I smash my wife, but you know.
Also, if you're watching, please drop a like in the video. We got six people watching, only 2 likes. Let's get those likes up to 6 people, or 6 likes, please. For my women, how has having male friends benefited you in your life?
And I have to admit, while we're waiting on them, I used to didn't believe, and it's kind of hypocritical now that I think about it, because I've always had female friends, but I used to didn't believe that my wife could be friends with a guy without sex. But I've always had female friends since I've been married, and I ain't had sex with none of them.
Do you think that was a distrust you had with your wife?
It was definitely hypocritical because no, I've never had a trust issue with my wife. It was me. It had to be me. I've never had a trust issue with my wife. So it must have been me. I don't know why though. That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm glad you're not on that no more.
It's crazy, bro.
Good. Even you were side-eyeing me.
Yeah, we wouldn't even been friends. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And the fact that I've always had at least one female friend and I've not had sex with them. But I didn't believe. I know what it was. And it still is kind of that though. Only men who ascribe to the belief system that you can be friends with a female without sexual orientation do I trust with my wife. Not that she can't defend herself, but it's just, if I know that you don't even believe that a man and woman can be friends, then I already know what your goal is with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
But if I know that you don't ascribe to that belief system, then I'm cool with it. But prior to meeting you and a very tight circle of friends that I had, I didn't have anybody that I trusted like that. So for me, it was about exposure, even though I was like that. But I mean, how many me's have I actually met? Mm-hmm. So I didn't have anything to go on. And even then, even if I did have friends who didn't believe that you could be friends with a woman without sex, they was loyal enough to me to not cross my wife like that. So even they don't believe it, but we've built enough rapport for them to not handle it like that.
Byron said, absolutely, I have 2 girls that are my absolute best friends. I mean, they cannot compete on which one is the best friend, actually.
Good. What makes you so close to them? Like, what about them makes them your best friends?
And I'm sorry, where did the women go? We did ask you guys a very valid question. What'd he say? Trish and I have been friends since age 14.
But like, so it's just time? Like, there's nothing particular about her as a individual that you be like, okay, this is why we friends. You know what? We're gonna do a video about this. Just a side note while we're waiting on them. It does something to my soul when someone, like one of my friends or somebody I talk to, asks me, do I watch somebody else on YouTube or something? What is it? But we friends though. We friends, but you asked me about somebody else. Somebody just asked me, do I watch sisters on Facebook? And I'm like, I've never seen you on one of my lives. And you know I be on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Believe, like, it's very interesting. The audacity. But we deal with that later. Maggie said, where y'all already, woo. She said, woo. Y'all already know my situation when it comes to this.
We got you, Maggie.
You in a whole different ballgame. We went down, Finn Stormbreaker. Byron said, well, me and Trish have been friends since we were kids because we share a common interest in martial arts. That's how we met, going to tournaments together and pretty much becoming friends that way. Okay. Do you think it's important for men and women, do you think it's important for men and women to establish such a connection, right? because one would have to be foolish to not acknowledge there could always be a sexual energy, but I think it's important to channel that into something else, like whether it be martial arts, fishing, cartoons, anime. Like I feel like it's definitely important to override that possibility with something that's more foundational or something that's not as destructive as that would be, i.e. if both of you are in two different relationships or married or whatever the situation may be.
Yeah. I can speak to my experience. Like I'll bring up Tiana, for example. Me and her, Swanee.
So I want to say, for me, opposite gender friends I find to be beneficial due to other male perspectives when they are challenging or scenarios that have different viewpoints between my husband and I. That's really the only benefit for me because everything else comes in a group setting of friends.
Yeah. So, like for instance, me and Tiana, we met when I was working at Gaddy Town 10 years ago. It was probably about 9 years ago now. And I think had it not been for our experience working at the same place that, we pretty much had similar. Had it not been for our experience working together, I don't know how we would have been able to break the barrier between us when it comes to comfort level or any kind of comfort zone that might have been created for us to kind of initiate a friendship, right? So I think like when I first met her, I think I saw her and I had introduced myself to her, but that was it. It wasn't like trying to hit on her, holler at her, trying to get her number or anything like that. And I think because it was just a genuine introducing myself, letting her know that I work here, where she could find me and things like that, that gave her the comfort that she needed to decide that I could be a potential friend. And I'm a little hazy on the events following that, but somehow, some way, we became friends for life. Like over time, we started hanging out a lot. We were hanging out with other people in group settings, and then eventually it was just me and her for a while. So like, I do think it is beneficial to establish connections outside of a sexual situation or outside of any kind of sexual reference, in order to be able to believe that, oh, hey, this is possible. Like we are genuine friends, and I don't want to have sex with you. Like I do genuinely enjoy being around you. I do genuinely enjoy having conversations with you, sharing experiences with you, and sex hasn't even crossed my mind once. But I do think it takes having certain connections like that. Most of them are established at work because that's where we spend most of our time at, right? Or established at church or any place that you frequent on a regular basis that other people also frequent on a regular basis, and you guys are always seeing each other at this place on a regular basis. That breaks the ice already because you already have something to talk about. You already have something in common. We're having to spend so much time here. First, we can talk about the time that we're spending here or our experience spending time here. On top of that, when we're done talking about this, it can lead into other things, and other interests are discovered within the time that we're talking to each other.
Now we have a friendship.
And now we have a friendship to go on. Like now we have an actual foundation to build on top of outside of any initial attraction that I might have had towards you. So yeah. I do think it is beneficial to establish those kind of connections, because that's what allows for friendships to be had without the idea that, oh, men and women can't be friends, or without the idea that at some point this is going to lead to a sexual encounter between us.
Like you said, the location, I do think, makes a major difference, right? As opposed to meeting someone at the club or a bar, meeting them at work or school or the job, it doesn't tee up a possible next step for, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't, it don't do that. I'm at work. There's no bed in here. Where we gonna go? The supply closet? So,
hey.
I mean, they do it, but it's a me thing. I ain't on that. If I say you at work, I'm not thinking about no bed.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that 100%. And I remember just me back in the day, I had a best friend who, God rest her soul, has passed. We used to go everywhere together, like virtually, because she had got paralyzed. So like I would FaceTime her every day, and like I would like take her with me through the day. And I remember before she passed, like well before she passed, when one of the first times I realized, wait, like my friendship is more important. We were great friends, but we were finna have sex, and like we got in the room, pulled my clothes off, got on top of her, and I was like, this don't feel right. Mm-hmm. Like it's sex, but something is off. Mm-hmm. This don't feel like, because you're in a different place mm-hmm. in here.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it then because I was too young. But like when you were talking about it, it's like, yeah, that you don't supposed to be trying to have sex with everybody. Like that ain't the only thing that y'all can do. So like I literally like got off of her and she was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, this ain't what we're supposed to be doing.
This ain't us, right?
This ain't what we do.
We're not this.
We're not this.
We're not this.
So yeah, I got off and we never even brought it back up. Mm-hmm. Like we may have joked maybe like a time or two afterward, but after that we just continued our friendship. They was like, nah, we're not doing that. Yeah. We're not doing that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. It's not good.
Tiana said, I do believe girls and guys can be friends without going to the next level. Me personally, having guy friends not only opens up a widely different perspective that I might not see or understand, but also I feel safe around my close guy friends.
Yeah. I think it's very important. And these conversations actually display your partner's perception of you, right? It's that whole, well, I don't trust them. I mean, is it them you don't trust or me at this point? Mm-hmm. So that is a doorway to a whole nother conversation. And the more mature you become in that particular relationship, the better it'll be. Because like y'all said, it definitely helps broaden your horizon on different perspectives that your man and or your female is going to need to have a productive relationship. Yeah. And you just can't provide them everything they need. Like you can't be that. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. You just can't be everything that your partner needs and or everything that they're going to utilize for a productive growth and development situation. And just eat that.
Yeah. Facts. Were there any other questions you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, so I had a few things that I notated that contributes to the communication barrier on both ends, and one is tone of conversation. Like depending on the tone of the conversation, that can make it go left or right. Then the approach, depending on the approach of that conversation, that could definitely change how they're receiving it. Then word choice. I've been noticing lately, just in casual conversations with my female friends and male friends, that a lot of people have trigger words. Like there's a lot of trigger words that have not been discussed, and then they assume that we know those words, and when we say them, it turns the entire conversation a whole nother way. I have trigger words. Never and sometimes. Don't do that. Make sure if you saying never, there does not need to be a record in my mind where that happened. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I can deal with that, right? Mm-hmm. Then you have trauma. A lot of people do not realize that you've had a traumatic experience, and now anything that resembles that is going to cause a defense. Mm-hmm. And then triggers, and not trigger words, just triggers, such as hand gestures, eyebrows, smirks. Like it's so many triggers, like body language, like it's so many triggers. So when I'm talking to people now, there's a list of stuff that I be going through my head, like I'll find myself, like when somebody's talking, I'll be like this, and I'm like, let me unfold so that they don't think I'm being defensive. Mm-hmm. Or like if I'm lean like this, and I'll be like, let me fix my neck. Like you'll see me adjusting my body like 3 or 4 times in a conversation until I reach a point that I feel like this person can fully pour into me. Mm-hmm. And I find the more of those adjustments that I make, the more information that they pour. But I mean, how many people really run into a checklist of making sure they're breaking all their possible barriers in a conversation? Yeah. It could easily go left. Shay said, because of perspective and the information you gain. That one first. Oh, my bad. Y'all have brought to life the concept of it being okay to hang out with the opposite sex. Nancy Henry says, not Hallmark.
Nasia.
Oh, that's Nasia. Oh, my bad. Shay said, because of perspective and the information you gain from hanging out with your girlfriends and also guy friends, both perspectives are necessary, I feel. It's valid.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Hey, Lilo, how important is it, do you think, that having guy friends such as us two a-holes, as you call us, is important to your life? How important do you think it is to have guy friends?
It's got to be extremely important because as much as she calls us a-holes, she's always coming back
for more.
Always
coming back to call us more a-holes. Always coming back.
Yeah, this has been a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, I have to give you a lot of credit though, because a lot of the concepts that I have. Posture.
My bad.
Okay.
I'm gonna fold my arm. Let me fix my
a lot of these concepts I did not even considering until we became friends, and our friendship definitely spiraled from you being friends with my wife. So if I would have held on to that particular ideology, this would not be a thing, and I don't know if I would have grown to the degree by which I've grown at this time. I'm sure I would eventually got there, but I don't think it would have been so soon. So I definitely appreciate you at least presenting such characteristics that I'm willing to listen to, and then also entertain, and then talk it out with me to show me that, okay, hey, it's okay. Just calm down. It'll work. Just let's try it though. So I definitely appreciate that.
I appreciate you. I mean, you know, I'm just trying to change the world out here, man. But I also understand that it's not enough to just talk about it. I also need to exemplify it as well. So I do my best to try and be an example for the kind of message that I'm trying to disseminate to the masses, you know. So I appreciate your appreciation for my contribution to your life.
One of my role models said something so profound, and I will carry this till I die. He said, "Your actions are the weight of your words." I wholeheartedly believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I fully believe that if you're living up to it when you say it, as opposed to someone else saying it, it's just gonna hit different. That's that internal thing. Nobody can, like, they can't see it, but it just sounds, and it goes deeper when you're living what you're saying, because it touches something deeper in that person you're saying it to.
Yeah.
I fully believe that.
So in the perfect world, we got to bring back this segment. So now is a good time for a segment that we call In a Perfect World, where we take everything that's been discussed today and we determine that if we utilize all of the concepts and the skills and tools that we've displayed or that we've talked about or mentioned within this conversation, what would a perfect world look like to you? If we take all of the skills and the concepts that we've discussed today, what does a perfect world look like for you?
So I have to paint the picture in my head, and I'm going to use a Bible reference. There was a time where everyone spoke the same language, and they were building a tower, and God literally said to his angels, "Hey, we need to go down there and mix that up, because as long as they're on one accord, there's nothing that they can't do." Mm-hmm. He literally sent them down here to give us all the languages we have so that they couldn't keep doing what they were doing. Mm-hmm. That tells me that if we begin to get on one accord, i.e. developing these skills we just named, there is nothing that would be possible. It would decrease so much stuff, which then would increase the mental and emotional space to be more productive. And productivity doesn't have a cap. Doesn't have a cap limit. Negativity has a cap, right? Suicide, murder, aggression, rape, like all those things are capped out. You either kill yourself or go to jail for 25 to life, right? Mm-hmm. Give me one cap for productivity. You don't have a cap. Dang. So it's maximum productivity if these concepts are utilized on a worldwide basis. And it just reminds me of guys saying, "Hey, we need to go stop them. They're getting a little too up there. It's not time. They're taking it too fast." Yeah. I definitely see maximum production with no cap.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think in a perfect world, men learn how to connect with women on an emotional level. I think in a perfect world, women learn how to speak to a man's logical antenna. in order to properly convey any concerns that she may have, or to even understand where a man is coming from when he's trying to break down why it is that he's doing certain things, why it is that he feels a certain way. I think that'll just make all of the difference. Men, in order to connect with women on an emotional level, you have to be able to connect with your own emotions. Be able to say that it's okay that I have emotions. It's okay to become aware of my emotions. It's not okay to allow my emotions to take over or to be out of control of my emotions. But once you do build the emotional intelligence for yourself and for your partner, that'll make all of the difference when it comes to communicating with your counterpart. So, yeah, that's what a perfect world for me looks like. And then also a perfect world for me looks like men taking the time to spend more time around women to understand women, and vice versa. Women taking the time to spend more time around men in order to understand how men operate as well. So
I just when you're talking, I'm just painting pictures, and men and women on both fronts are doing ourselves a disservice because we cling more to our particular type, which then takes away the possibility to develop that muscle, which is the same muscle that we complain about. Men complain about women not having their emotions under control, but these are the same men that don't take time to get theirs under control so that they can display how to control them. Women complain about men not displaying their emotions, but these are the same women that have sporadic display of emotions. So if the men and the women both did their part on the emotional front, then it'll work. But you can't do it only hanging around the same thing that you are.
Yeah.
Strawberry seeds make strawberries.
Yeah.
Grape seeds make grapes. You only get hybrid fruits when you take one from here and one from here and you put them together. But outside of that, you're going to keep producing that by which you currently are.
Yeah. I'm with you.
We got to do better. Lilo has said, depends. It is not necessary of the opposite sex of him being my friend, but if that's the matter, then it's whatever I see as good reflection from him. I'll comment again to list my reason. Could you put that in English?
I was just about to say she typed exactly how she talks.
I know what you're saying. You can best believe it's like 4 sentences above that we didn't hear and 3 below, and then this message will make sense. What is you saying? I love Lilo. I love
like she
Lilo,
literally types how she talks.
Yep, I love her. I don't know. And I'm good at putting stuff together. I don't know what this is. It's not the necessary of the opposite sex of him being my friend, but if that's the matter, then it's whatever I see as a good reflection. Then put a mirror. She put a mirror. She put a mirror emoji like she just dropped it. She killed it. From him, I'll comment again and list my reason. No, comment again and tell me what you commented. Your next comment should be a sub for your comment. Shoot. What is you saying, baby?
Bruh, I wish I could live in her head.
Man, I mean, like, just words, just bouncing around.
LeVon gonna say bars. No! No! You know she not speaking her language.
No. She put a mirror emoji. She knew she killed it.
Gotta drive home the point.
Come on, Lilo.
Gotta drive home the point.
Come on.
She probably cursing us out right now.
Yep. Oh, I can't stand them a-holes. Let's give her a minute to see if she gonna counter. Let's give her a minute. Matter of fact, I'm gonna try to call her.
Oh Lord.
Hey, Trisha. She not answering. No, it's not calling one. I don't know. Oh, there you go.
She not going to.
Good night. All right. Well, we tried, Lilo.
All right.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, please, if you like the video, please drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you can catch every time we go live. We do go live every Thursday at 7 o'clock. However, next week we'll be going live on Wednesday at 7 o'clock since, next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So please catch us same time, same place next week. But right now we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to our future selves. One day we'll look back on this and wonder why we were ever like this in the first place. And on that note, we'll holler at you guys.